In an AI world, your most valuable asset isn't your degree, your job title, or even your investment portfolio. It is your ability to sit in a chair and focus on a single hard problem for 4 hours without checking your phone. The math on this is actually terrifying. Studies show that constant interruptions consume nearly 30% of a knowledge worker's day and cost companies hundreds of billions a year in lost productivity. But here is the flip side. As AI automates the shallow, easy tasks, the value of deep human skills like complex problem-solving is spiking. Cal Newport calls deep work the killer app of the knowledge economy because it is becoming rarer just as it becomes more valuable. Translate that into money and a clear pattern emerges. The people who can shut out the noise will capture a massive share of the rewards, while everyone else drowns in notifications. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how focus converts to cash and how to stop bleeding money through distraction. This concept is called the deep work premium. It is an economic term for a reality we all feel but rarely quantify. We live in an attention economy, but most of us are acting like attention is infinite. We spend it on emails, Slack messages, and quick status updates, thinking we are being productive. But the market is shifting. The market is starting to price shallow work, that low-value administrative stuff, at near zero because AI can do it, or it can be outsourced easily. Meanwhile, the market price for deep work, defined as distraction-free concentration on cognitively demanding tasks, is going through the roof. If you want to increase your earning power over the next decade, you do not need a new certification. You need to reclaim the 30% of your brain power that you are currently giving away for free. Before we get into the specific numbers on how much money you are losing to interruptions, I want to ask for a small investment of your focus right now. If you are interested in the intersection of psychology, economics, and your bank account, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I break down these invisible costs every week so you can keep more of what you earn. And honestly, watching this video all the way through without clicking away might be the best practice rep for deep work you do all day. Let's see if we can make it to the end together. Now, let's look at why this skill is suddenly worth a fortune. To understand the money side of this, we have to look at basic supply and demand. Cal Newport defines deep work as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. This state creates new value and is hard to replicate. The key word there is hard. Most people do not do hard things anymore. They do busy things. We have confused motion with progress. We bounce between tabs, we answer emails within 30 seconds, and we feel exhausted at 5 p.m. despite having produced very little of tangible value. That is shallow work. In an economy that was purely manual labour, focus didn't matter as much. You could daydream while assembling a widget. But in the knowledge economy, your brain is the factory. If the factory shuts down every 4 minutes for a distraction, you aren't producing. Because so few people can actually focus for 4 hours straight anymore, the supply of deep work is crashing. Simultaneously, the demand for what deep work produces is skyrocketing. We are dealing with complex systems, massive datasets, and intricate AI tools. You cannot learn a complex new software platform in 5-minute bursts between TikTok scrolls. You need sustained, heavy cognitive lift. Economic theory tells us that when an asset is both scarce and highly valuable, its price creates a premium. This is why you see such a massive bifurcation in income in the tech and finance sectors. The developer who can hold the entire architecture of an app in their head for 6 hours and write flawless code is worth 10 times the developer who has to check Stack Overflow every 3 lines and gets distracted by Discord. It is not just that they are faster, it is that they are doing a fundamentally different type of work. One is a commodity, the other is a monopoly. And monopolies get paid monopoly prices. Here is the twist. If deep work pays so well, why aren't we all doing it? Why is it so hard to just close the tab? It is because shallow work is seductive. It mimics productivity. Sending 10 emails feels like work. It gives you a little dopamine hit. You checked a box. Deep work, on the other hand, is terrifying. It is staring at a blank page or a complex spreadsheet for an hour with no immediate feedback. It feels like a struggle. Newport argues that we gravitate toward shallow work because it prevents us from doing the hard thing that might fail. It is a form of procrastination disguised as industry. We tell ourselves we are being responsive team players, but economically speaking, we are just treading water. We are trading long-term career capital for short-term comfort. And that comfort is expensive. It is costing you the skills that would actually double your income. So, how do we fix the supply problem in your own life? You don't need to become a monk. You just need to stop mixing the two types of work. This is where the bimodal philosophy comes in. You need to clearly separate deep time from shallow time. You cannot do deep work with your email client open in the background. It is physically impossible. The protocol is to schedule deep work blocks on your calendar as if they were meetings with your CEO. During those blocks, you are offline. No phone, no Wi-Fi if possible, no just checking. Then, you have specific blocks for shallow work, where you blast through emails and admin. By batching the shallow stuff, you stop it from bleeding into the valuable stuff. You are essentially creating a firewall for your attention. Now, you might be thinking, Tom, a quick check of my email only takes 30 seconds. How much can that really cost me? If you think the cost of an interruption is just the time you spend on the interruption, you are calculating it wrong. The math is actually much darker than that. We are about to look at the context switch penalty, and once you see these numbers, you will never look at a notification badge the same way again. It turns out that quick 30-second check is likely costing you 20 minutes of cognitive output. Let's dig into the bleed. Most knowledge workers operate in a state of constant fragmentation. A 2024 report from the Next Work Innovation think tank found that the average knowledge worker is interrupted 15 times per hour. That is, once every 4 minutes. Think about that. You never actually get into a flow state. You are constantly revving the engine but never shifting out of first gear. We have normalized this. We wear it as a badge of honor that we can multitask. But biologically, you cannot multitask. You are just rapid switching between tasks. And every time you switch, your brain has to dump the context of the old task and load the context of the new one. This friction creates what researchers call attention residue. Part of your brain is still stuck on that email you just read while you are trying to write a report. It is like trying to run a sprint while juggling. Let's put a price tag on this. BaseX research estimates that interruptions consume 28% of a knowledge worker's day. Not just the interruption itself, but the recovery time. That translates to 28 billion lost man-hours per year in the US alone. But let's bring it down to your paycheck. If you make $100,000 a year, and 28% of your time is vaporized by distractions, that is $28,000 of value you are effectively setting on fire. You are being paid for output, but you are only operating at 70% capacity. If you were a machine in a factory operating at 70% capacity, management would fix it immediately. But because the loss is invisible, it just looks like busy work, we ignore it. The report also found that each interruption makes a task take roughly 15 to 24% longer to complete. So you are working longer hours to do the same amount of work, simply because you won't turn off notifications. It gets worse. It's not just about time, it's about quality. When you are interrupted, your error rate spikes. The cognitive load of switching contexts leads to mistakes. In high-stakes fields, law, coding, engineering, finance, a single error can cost way more than the time lost. A decimal point in the wrong place, a bug in the code, a clause missed in a contract. These are expensive problems. Shallow work creates a fragile environment where these errors flourish. Deep work acts as a quality shield. By working deeply, you aren't just faster, you are safer. You are producing clean work. In an economy that penalizes mistakes harshly, the ability to deliver error-free, high-quality work on the first try is a massive competitive advantage. You become the person the boss trusts with the mission-critical stuff. And that is where the razors live. To stop the bleeding, you need a protocol for bunkering. This means physically or digitally removing the possibility of interruption. If you work in an open office, this might mean noise-cancelling headphones are non-negotiable. It might mean booking a conference room just for yourself. If you are remote, it means communicating to your team that you are going dark for 2 hours. It sounds aggressive, but you have to protect your attention like it's your bank account. Turn off the notifications, close the email tab, put the phone in another room. The first 20 minutes will feel uncomfortable. You will feel the phantom buzz in your pocket. That is just the addiction talking. Push through it. Once you cross that threshold, you enter the flow state where the real value is created. That is where you earn your premium. You might be thinking, Tom, can't I just use AI to do the work for me? Then I don't need to focus. This is the biggest trap people are falling into right now. They think AI replaces the need for deep work. The data suggests the exact opposite. AI is actually going to make deep work harder to do, but infinitely more profitable for the people who can master it. If you stop listening now, you are going to miss the single biggest leverage point in the modern economy. Here is why the robots aren't going to save you from distraction. They are going to demand even more from you. Let's look at the AI landscape. A lot of doom and gloom says AI replaces jobs. But research from MIT Sloan and McKinsey paints a different picture. They argue that AI is more likely to augment roles than replace them entirely. But here is the catch. It automates the easy stuff. It automates the shallow work. Writing a basic email, summarizing a meeting, organizing data. AI crushes that. What it can't do well is high-level judgment, complex strategy, empathy, and navigating ambiguous human systems. These are what MIT calls epoch skills. As AI takes over the routine tasks, your job becomes entirely about those high-level, human-centric, difficult tasks. And guess what those tasks require? Deep focus. You can't exercise complex moral judgment or design a novel system while checking Instagram. The bar for human contribution is being raised. The baseline is now higher. A 2024 paper on AI and skills found a fascinating trend. In AI-intensive roles, the demand for complementary skills, things like critical thinking and resilience, is rising. And workers who combine AI proficiency with these deep human skills command a significant wage premium. Think of it this way. AI is a power tool. If you give a power tool to a distracted novice, they make a mess faster. If you give it to a master craftsman who is deeply focused, they build a cathedral in a week. Deep work is the operating system that lets you use the AI tool effectively. You need sustained focus to learn how to prompt it, how to evaluate its output, and how to integrate it into a larger project. The person who uses AI while distracted produces generic garbage. The person who uses AI with deep focus produces elite output. That gap is where the money is. The irony is that while AI makes deep work more valuable, the tools themselves are making it harder to focus. We are flooded with AI-generated content, notifications, and noise. The Atlassian interview with Cal Newport highlights this deep work deficiency. We are frantically hopping between tools, terrified of missing out. The twist is that the very technology that could save us time is being used to fracture our attention further. This creates a massive arbitrage opportunity. If the entire workforce is becoming more distracted by these tools, and you are the one person who learns to discipline your use of them, you become a superhero. In a world of distracted zombies, the focus person is king. You don't have to be a genius. You just have to be the only one in the room paying attention. Here is the protocol for the AI age. Allocate time specifically for deep learning. You need to be aggressively learning these new tools, but you cannot do it passively. Set aside 3 hours a week just to master a new workflow or a new software. No email, no side tasks, just you and the problem. This builds what Newport calls career capital. The faster you can learn hard things, the more valuable you become. Most people learn slowly because they are learning while distracted. If you can learn fast because you are focused, you will outpace your peers rapidly. While they are still figuring out the basics of a new AI model 6 months from now, you will have already mastered it and moved on to the next thing. Speed of learning is the ultimate currency right now, and focus is the engine of speed. So, we have the theory, and we have the threat of AI. But how does this actually show up in your bank account? Conventional wisdom says to work longer hours to make more money. I am going to tell you to do the opposite. I want you to work fewer hours, but make those hours infinitely more intense. This is how you negotiate for a raise or double your freelance rate without burning out. It comes down to a concept called leverage, and it is the secret weapon of the wealthy. Let's look at leverage. In a factory, output is linear. You stand at the line for an hour, you make 10 widgets. In knowledge work, output is non-linear. One great strategic decision, one brilliant marketing campaign, or one optimized piece of code can be worth millions. Deep work is what allows you to access that non-linear value. When you work deeply, you aren't just doing more work, you are doing better work. You are finding solutions that tired, distracted brains miss. If you are a freelancer, this is easy to quantify. If you can do in 4 hours what takes others 8, you have effectively doubled your hourly rate, provided you charge by the project, which you should always do. If you are an employee, this leverage shows up as results. You become the person who delivers the finished project while everyone else is still talking about it in meetings. Results give you leverage in salary negotiations. There is also a compounding effect to deep work. We talked about learning hard things. If you spend 1 hour a day in deep study of your field, that is roughly 250 hours a year. Over a decade, that is 2,500 hours of deliberate practice. That is enough to make you a world-class expert in a specific niche. The distracted worker has 0 hours of deliberate practice because they are just reacting to inboxes. Over 10 years, the income gap between the expert and the reactor becomes a canyon. The expert commands speaking fees, consulting retainers, and equity. The reactor gets cost of living adjustments, maybe. The math of compound interest applies to your skills just as much as your money. Deep work is the regular deposit you make into that account. If you miss those deposits, you end up professionally broke. There is a hidden premium here too: reliability. In a distracted world, reliability is scarce. People drop balls constantly. They forget attachments. They miss deadlines. They misunderstand instructions because they were skimming. When you practice deep work, you become terrifyingly reliable. You process information fully. You deliver complete work. Clients and bosses notice this instantly. They stop micromanaging you. They give you autonomy. And autonomy is a form of wealth. But more importantly, people pay a premium for peace of mind. If a client knows that hiring Tom means the job gets done right the first time, they will pay Tom double what they pay the guy they have to babysit. You are selling certainty in an uncertain world. That is a very expensive product. So how do you cash this check? You use your deep work results to renegotiate your role. Once you have established a rhythm and are producing high-level output, you go to your boss or your clients and you ask for a shift to results-based assessment. You say, I am delivering X, Y, and Z. I need to structure my day to ensure this continues. You ask for meeting-free days. You ask for remote flexibility. You ask for a raise based on the tangible value you created, not the hours you sat in the chair. Because you have the receipts, the deep work output, you have the leverage. Most people ask for a raise because cost of living went up. You ask for a raise because I built a system that saved us 50 grand. Who do you think gets the money? Deep work gives you the ammunition to win that conversation. We have covered a lot of ground, from the neuroscience of distraction to the economics of AI. But information without execution is just more noise. I want you to try a 30-day experiment. Start small. Schedule one single 90-minute block of deep work every day for the next month. Put it on your calendar. Protect it with your life. Turn off the phone. During that 90 minutes, attack your most important revenue-generating task. Do not use that time for email. Do not use it for admin. Use it for the hard stuff. Track your output. I guarantee you, within 30 days, you will produce more value in those 90-minute blocks than you usually do in a week of distracted scrambling. You will feel the difference in your brain, and eventually you will see it in your bank account. We are heading toward a divided economy. On one side, you have the distracted majority. They are busy, stressed, and constantly connected. Their wages will stagnate because their work is easily automated or outsourced. On the other side, you have the focused minority. They are calm, they work deeply, and they produce things that are rare and valuable. They will capture the majority of the economic surplus generated by AI. The barrier to entry for the focused minority is incredibly low. You just have to close the tab. But the barrier to execution is high. You have to conquer your own mind. The choice is yours. Are you going to be a consumer of distraction or a producer of value? If you are going to take the 30-day challenge, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below with what deep work project you are going to tackle. Are you learning Python? Writing a book? Restructuring your business? Let's get a peer review going in the comments section so we can hold each other accountable. And if you found value in this deep dive, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that people still have an attention span greater than 8 seconds. Thanks for focusing with me today. I'm Tom, this is Tom Talks Money, and I'll see you in the next one.